One of the most fundamental shifts that happen in the mindset of a man who no longer chases women is the realization, no, the internal asterisk conviction asterisk, that his self-worth is not up for negotiation. It's not up for sale. It's not something to be proven to anyone, and certainly not to someone he's trying to impress. You see, when a man truly knows his worth, he stops behaving like a beggar in the marketplace of attention. He stops hustling for affection, approval, or validation, because he understands that his value is not determined by how many women find him attractive or how many dates he can land. That kind of thinking is juvenile, and it's rooted in a deep insecurity, a belief that worth is assigned externally, like a grade on a paper. But the man we're talking about here, the one who doesn't chase, he's not playing that game. He's done with it. He's operating from a different plane entirely. He has calibrated his life in such a way that he is his own reference point. His validation comes from within. His sense of identity is rooted in something far more stable than fleeting attention or superficial praise. He knows what he stands for. He knows what he's building, and he refuses to derail that inner structure just to accommodate someone else's approval. Now, that doesn't mean he's arrogant or aloof. No, it's actually the opposite. He's grounded, and that grounding creates a calmness, an internal stillness that's often misread as indifference, but it's not indifference, it's discernment. It's the maturity to recognize that chasing anyone, romantically or otherwise, implies a belief that they're somehow more valuable than you, that their presence would somehow complete you, or worse, validate you. That's a dangerous belief, because if you need someone to tell you that you matter, you're handing them the authority over your identity, and that's how you lose yourself. That's how you start bending, shrinking, compromising, just to keep someone interested. But the man who's anchored in his worth, he doesn't do that. He doesn't need too. He doesn't chase, not because he's playing hard to get, but because he's already got something worth protecting. His time, his peace, his direction. This kind of man doesn't wake up in the morning wondering if he's liked. He wakes up with intent. He knows the day ahead is his to conquer, and anyone who aligns with that mission is welcome, but not required. There's no desperation, there's no panic, there's no need to prove anything, and that's where the real strength lies. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's firm, quietly immovable. That's the kind of presence that doesn't chase. It draws in because people can feel it. They can sense when a man respects himself. They can sense when he knows who he is. And so, the irony is this: when a man stops chasing women and starts walking in alignment with his own value, that's when he becomes magnetic. That's when women take notice, not because he's trying to impress them, but because he isn't and that absence of need, that self-contained confidence, is rare. It's what makes all the difference. There's something deeply admirable, almost ancient, about a man who wakes up with a sense of purpose. Not just routine, not just responsibility, but purpose. A man who knows why he gets out of bed in the morning. And I don't mean just earning a paycheck or hitting the gym because someone told him it's important. I mean a man who is orienting his life toward a meaningful goal, one that challenges him, sharpens him, stretches him into the kind of person he's trying to become. That man, he doesn't chase women. Not because he isn't attracted to them or because he doesn't value companionship, but because his energy is directed towards something greater something that demands more of him. Men like that understand something that's often lost today. When you chase pleasure before purpose, you erode both. But when you choose purpose first, the rest aligns over time. Women, attention, status. They become byproducts, not pursuits. And that subtle shift makes all the difference. Because the man who chases women is often doing so as a way of escaping himself. He's bored, he's restless, he's looking for affirmation that he hasn't earned internally, so he throws his energy into the pursuit of someone else's attention, hoping it will make him feel alive, feel seen, feel valuable. But it never works for long, because it's hollow. But the man who is building something, something he believes in, something that demands his focus, his discipline, his long-term commitment, he doesn't have the luxury to waste his energy chasing fleeting validation. He's got bigger battles to fight. He's not sitting around wondering who likes him today. He's asking how to be better than he was yesterday, and in that battle, with himself, he finds meaning. It gives him posture. It gives him edge. It gives him dignity. You see, when a man's life has structure, when he's organized around a clear mission, he becomes incredibly attractive, and it's not just about ambition or career. It could be building a business, creating art, becoming stronger physically or spiritually, raising a family with integrity. Whatever form it takes, the point is that his life isn't centered on the pursuit of women. It's centered on the pursuit of excellence, and from that place of grounded direction, women are drawn to him naturally, because he's not trying to win them over. He's simply becoming someone of value. Someone who doesn't need to prove his worth because he lives it. Now, that doesn't mean he shuts people out or avoids connection. On the contrary, he values intimacy deeply, but not at the expense of his mission. He's not the guy who drops everything at the hint of attention. He doesn't compromise his purpose just to keep someone interested, because he knows that if he does, he risks becoming the very thing he's worked so hard not to be: aimless, desperate, ungrounded. And here's the irony: the more focused he becomes on his purpose, the more magnetic he becomes to others, not because he's trying to impress, but because people can feel it. They feel the strength of his direction, the calm in his presence, the fact that he's not trying to be liked. He's just trying to be better. That kind of man doesn't chase, he builds, he moves, he leads. And in doing so, he becomes the kind of man others want to follow, not because he asked them to, but because they chose to. There's a dangerous illusion a lot of men fall into, and it's this belief that if they don't act fast, if they don't impress her now, respond to every message instantly, go above and beyond to show they care, they'll miss their one and only chance. It's this mindset of scarcity. It poisons the way they approach women, and worse, it warps how they see themselves. They move through the world as if love and connection are rare resources, like there's only 1 or 2 people out there who might ever understand them, accept them, choose them. And so they chase, they cling, they make themselves smaller just to avoid being alone. But that kind of mindset, this scarcity-driven anxiety, it's a trap, and it guarantees that a man will give away his power before he even knows he had it. Now contrast that with a man who lives from a place of abundance. He doesn't believe that a single rejection defines his worth. He doesn't panic when something doesn't work out. He doesn't see people as opportunities to be won or lost. He knows that meaningful relationships are built, not by desperation, but by alignment. And if something doesn't align, he doesn't crumble. He recalibrates because he believes deeply that there are many paths to connection, many people worth meeting, many chances to build something worthwhile. And more importantly, he knows that he only needs *1 to stick, and that one will be a match for the man he's becoming, not the man who begged to be chosen. Abundance is not about being arrogant. It's not about collecting numbers or playing games. It's about understanding that your time, your attention, your energy, they all have value, and because they have value, you're selective about where you invest them. You don't give them away cheaply. You don't overextend yourself just to prove you're worthy. You stop chasing because you know that the right kind of connection will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. And you see, when a man adopts this mindset, everything about his presence changes. He's no longer restless or reactive. He's composed. Women notice that because most people can sense when someone is acting from a place of lack. They feel the pressure, the overeagerness. It repels more than it attracts. But a man grounded in abundance doesn't need to be flashy. He doesn't need to dominate every room or show off. His energy says, asterisk, I'm here, I know who I am, and I know what I bring, asterisk. And that kind of confidence, the quiet kind that doesn't demand attention, it creates a gravitational pull. You won't see that man running after someone who isn't interested. He doesn't take it personally. He respects the no and moves on without bitterness, because his self-worth isn't attached to any single outcome. He knows there's always more life to live, more people to meet, more chances to grow. So he stays rooted in what he controls, his character, his path, his standards, and that's where the real strength is. That's what makes him attractive, not the pursuit but the posture. So when you ask why men like this don't chase women, it's not because they're cold or uninterested. It's because they already know their value, and they trust that what's meant for them won't require a performance. That kind of man doesn't chase, because he understands that nothing real ever runs from someone who's already whole. There's a powerful transformation that happens in a man's life when he learns to master his emotions, not suppress them, not ignore them, but genuinely understand and regulate them. Most men are never taught how to do that. They grow up either bottling everything up until it explodes, or they become overly reactive, letting every emotional wave knock them off balance. Neither one leads to strength. Neither one commands respect. Because emotional instability, whether it's masked as aggression or disguised as neediness, makes a man unpredictable, and unpredictability signals weakness, not power. But a man who develops emotional control becomes dangerous in the best possible way. He becomes steady, he becomes someone others can rely on, someone who isn't swayed by temporary emotions or hijacked by the thrill of attraction. When he meets a woman, he doesn't immediately get pulled into fantasy. He doesn't idealize her. He doesn't imagine a future after one good conversation. He stays grounded in the moment, watching, listening, observing. He's not acting from a place of hunger. He's evaluating calmly. That's emotional maturity, and it allows him to choose wisely instead of impulsively. A lot of men chase because they can't sit with discomfort. They feel a spark and immediately move toward it, hoping to secure the feeling. They get rejected and they spiral. They feel ignored and they panic. All of that is a result of lacking internal regulation. But when you train yourself to hold emotional tension, to feel something without acting on it impulsively, you begin to reclaim your authority over your own behavior. You begin to respond instead of react. And that space between stimulus and response, that's where your power lies. The men who don't chase have often gone through this internal training. They've felt rejection, disappointment, longing. But instead of being consumed by those emotions, they've learned to contain them. They've learned to let the feeling rise and pass without needing to escape it or fix it through validation. And over time, they become emotionally sovereign. No one else dictates their internal state. Not a text, not a glance, not attention gained or withheld. They remain centered regardless. This kind of composure also extends to setting and holding boundaries. A man without emotional control will say yes when he means no, apologize when he's done nothing wrong, bend himself into shapes to please others just to avoid discomfort. But a man who's emotionally stable will say no with clarity. He'll walk away when his standards aren't met, not out of anger, but out of alignment, because he doesn't fear disconnection more than he fears losing himself. That's the difference. He doesn't chase because he doesn't need too. He understands that any connection that can't coexist with his boundaries is a connection that's not worth keeping, and people feel this, women feel this. There's a quiet authority that comes from emotional discipline. It says, I know who I am, and I won't lose myself trying to earn your attention. That's not coldness, that's strength. That's a kind of self-possession that's become rare in a world addicted to instant gratification and emotional chaos. So when a man stops chasing, it's often not because he's indifferent. It's because he's stable. He doesn't need to react. He doesn't need to prove. He simply is calm, measured, clear, and in that clarity, he becomes unshakable. One of the most striking characteristics of a man who doesn't chase women is his ability to be selective, truly selective, in who he allows into his life. And this isn't about being arrogant or acting superior. It's about discernment. It's about understanding that not every connection is worth pursuing, and not every attractive face deserves access to your time, your energy, your presence. Because time and energy, those are your most valuable currencies. Once they are spent, they're gone, and a man who knows that doesn't spend them recklessly. He doesn't cast his net wide hoping something, anything will stick. He waits, he watches, and he chooses with intention. There's a kind of power in that restraint, a kind of quiet strength in being able to look past the surface and ask the deeper questions. Does this person align with my values? Do they support or distract from my mission? Can they handle the weight of real intimacy, real responsibility, real connection? Most men never pause long enough to ask those questions. They move based on chemistry, on impulse, on need. But a man who doesn't chase has learned, sometimes the hard way, that chemistry without compatibility is a recipe for chaos, and neediness is not connection. It's just fear disguised as desire. You see, the selective man isn't avoiding love. He's protecting his peace. He's not afraid of connection. He just refuses to settle for the kind that costs him his integrity. That's a crucial difference. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll fall for anything that feels good in the moment. And then you'll find yourself stuck, frustrated, distracted, maybe even resentful, wondering how you got pulled so far off course. But when a man becomes selective, he becomes intentional. He doesn't chase because he's not looking to be entertained. He's looking to build. And building requires more than attraction. It requires alignment. That's what most people miss. Attraction will get your attention, but alignment is what sustains something worth having. So he doesn't get swept up by a beautiful face or a charming personality. He sees it, sure, and he appreciates it, but he doesn't get lost in it, because he's seen the cost of chasing surface-level connection. He's seen what happens when you ignore red flags in exchange for short-term pleasure. And he's not going back. This level of selectivity also reflects self-respect. A man who respects himself isn't trying to convince anyone to like him. He's not putting on a performance, trying to meet unspoken expectations just to keep someone around. He's simply showing up as he is, and he's observing do you meet me there? Not above, not below, but beside. Can we walk this path together, or am I walking alone with someone who just happens to be nearby? When a man starts asking those questions, he doesn't just stop chasing. He starts attracting the kind of relationships that are rooted in truth, not fantasy, not manipulation, not performance, truth, and there's a deep peace in that. Because when you stop wasting time on connections that don't align, you make space for the ones that do asterisk, and those are the ones worth having. The ones that don't require you to chase, or beg, or bend. So no, he's not closed off. He's just done settling, and that's why he doesn't chase. Because he's already found something far more valuable than attention. He's found clarity, and clarity is what makes a man dangerous in the best way. Because when a man becomes truly selective, he stops looking for someone to complete him, and starts looking for someone who can join him. There's a quiet but unmistakable shift that occurs when a man no longer seeks validation outside himself. It's not loud, it's not showy, but it's powerful. It's the shift from seeking to being from performing to embodying and that's one of the most crucial differences between men who chase and men who don't. The ones who chase are still looking for something. Approval, acceptance, a feeling that they matter. They may not admit it, they may dress it up in confidence or charm, but underneath it all there's a need. A need to be seen, a need to be chosen, and as long as that need drives their actions, they're not free. But the man who no longer needs validation, that man is free in a way most people never experience. He's free because he's no longer waiting for someone else to tell him who he is. He's defined that for himself. He knows his worth not because someone clapped for him, not because someone loved him, not because he was wanted, but because he's spent time confronting himself, challenging himself, building himself. And through that process, he's earned his own respect. And when you have your own respect, the world can no longer hold you hostage. Now, let's be clear. We all want to be liked. We all want connection. That's human, but there's a vast difference between wanting something and needing it to feel whole. One is preference. The other is dependency. The men who chase are often still caught in that dependency. They're still believing, consciously or not, that their sense of self is incomplete unless someone else reflects it back to them. So they overextend, they try to impress, they adapt, they pursue, not from a place of abundance, but from a place of hoping they'll finally feel enough. But that kind of pursuit is empty. It never satisfies. You can tell when a man has broken free of that cycle. He moves differently. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't broadcast his achievements. He doesn't shrink to make someone else feel comfortable, and he doesn't puff up to look important. He's just their asterisk, fully, calmly, unapologetically. He shows up as himself, not a version of himself he hopes others will accept. And in that presence, there's a gravity. People notice it. Women notice it. Because it's rare, and that kind of man doesn't chase. Because he doesn't need anything from you. He doesn't need your attention to feel valuable. He doesn't need your affection to feel loved. He's already taken care of that on the inside. He's done the hard work, often lonely work of sitting with himself long enough to see his own worth without a mirror. And so if someone comes into his life, it's not to fill a gap. It's to build something together from overflow, not from emptiness. This also means he's not easily manipulated. He's not vulnerable to flattery. He's not shaken by rejection. Because when your sense of worth is internal, it's stable. It doesn't fluctuate with someone's opinion of you. And that's incredibly attractive, not just romantically, but across the board. That kind of man brings certainty into uncertain spaces. He brings calm into chaos. And most importantly, he's not led by fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being good enough. He's already made peace with those things, and that peace is what makes him magnetic. So when you ask why some men never chase, it's not because they're uninterested. It's because they've stopped searching for external proof of something they already believe to be true.